In this video we will detail the history of one of the greatest game-bred dogs of the past whose genetics are still found in the game-bred dogs of today. So with no further ado, grab some popcorn, get a good old cold beer, roll up a swisher and enjoy another great video by Gamebred. Pitbull Hall of Fame. The story of Indian Bolio, one-time winner, Register of Merit 1969. Here is the dog that won only one match and was retired as a stud dog. The reason this dog was considered so valuable and they decided not to show him anymore was because they put him up against a two-time winning dog who was considered an ace and he just couldn't shake him off. What made Bolio so great was that he possessed strength that was totally out of proportion to his size, even though Bolio was no small dog. At one point he could grab a dog twice his size and severely torment it. He was also a cunning fighter, able to hold his opponent long enough to get out of trouble. One of his many virtues or successes was that he liked to fight so much that he did not feel fatigued, a feeling of surrender. This would be a good definition of what gameness is. Bolio was the son of Zeke, for whom Bob Wallace once said, "Few dogs can stand before the torments he unleashes on them." Indian Bolio, Register of Merit. Bolio was the best match dog I have ever seen. He fought in the head of his opponent. He was very fast and strong. When he had his rival tired, he would shake his head. His pit weight was 43 pounds, but on different rolls he handled dogs 15 pounds heavier with ease. Bolio was bred by Maurice Carver and won a match for Clayton and Floyd Boudreau. It was Floyd who conditioned and managed Bolio for this match against Rowdy, who was a killer, but Bolio beat him in 152. Bolio won Best in Show at a 14-match convention, where Boomerang and Art were as well. Bolio loved to fight more than any dog I have ever seen. When Bolio saw his opponent, he acted as if he had just come out of hell itself. He would bite you to escape if you didn't grab him hard. Every second of fighting he had his tail wagging. Bolio was the best match dog I have ever seen. He produced good dogs, even when he was bred to a bad female. Bolio had 4 recognized champion sons in the Sporting Dog Journal and another 4 unrecognized. Clayton bred him to his champion Greb when he had it at his house. I bred him to produce the other 7 champions. If my dogs have something good, it is because they owe it to him in large part. Bolio was also the father of 2 Rom dogs, Patrick's Bull Boy Bob Rom and Patrick's Red Baby Rom. He was the grandfather of other Rom dogs, Boyles's Dirty Mary Rom and Patrick's C. Homer Rom. Stinson and Glover's famous 5-time winner Tuffy and his 4x winner sister Dolomite were Bolio's grandsons. Bolio's father was the famous Hernandez Zeke. His mother was a bitch named Carver's Goldie. Bolio carried a large part of Carver's Black Widow in his blood and his sister Judy. All of Bolio's brothers were game dogs. Bolio, through his game, endurance and love of combat, produced sons, grandsons and great-grandsons with these same qualities. Rolito from the 1XW Bolio, ROM, by Don Mayfield. Sue that he got from Maurice Carver. Ron had won 2 fights with Sue and was very excited about it. I made some deals with Jim Roix for Sue's sister and then traded her to Ron for Tombstone. When I received Tombstone, he was Fat Pig. He seemed like the type of fat dog that had been fat all his life and was lazy fat. At the time he was called Toot Jr. and it didn't take long to slim him down and make him look boneless. That's when Bobby Hall saw him and asked me his name, and I told him his name was Toot Jr. Bobby told me I should call him Tombstone because he looked like death, so I named him Tombstone because I didn't like the name Toot Jr. As soon as I got Tombstone from Ron, I knew he wasn't bred like Maloney said. That's when I called Don Maloney, and we talked about the dog with me trying to find out how he was bred. With Don Maloney, it was like knowing that he was going to lie about it, so you had to talk in circles to find out everything you could about the dog, and that's when I had the recorder on and that call is on the audio cassettes. About Tombstone. On that occasion Don said that Tombstone was the son of the same dog that was Nigger's mother. As for why Don Maloney lied about raising Tombstone and changed his pedigree, it was because of the greed and dealings he had with Earl Tudor at the time. He told Earl Tudor that the pup had died but sold him to Ron Petronelli, and changed his pedigree so Earl Tudor wouldn't find out. But Earl Tudor found out about the dog, and that's when Earl and Don got into a fight and cut off their relationship. Well, I got Tombstone down to 55 pounds, and I put him with a very hard dog for about 5 minutes to see how he was, and in that time the dog showed me so much finesse that I decided to fight him. So I contacted Bobby Hall to fix the fight, and the Tombstone vs. Bullyson Jr. fight was booked. The fight took place on September 29, 1973 in Red River, Texas, in a convention that we organized with 12 matches. We were the second to fight. The first fight was between Norman Houghton and Maurice Carver with his dog Butcher Boy against Jim Stinson and Pat Perry with his dog Samson. Pat Perry had only conditioned a dog once before, and Samson had come off the weight of him dehydrated and entered 3 pounds under his weight. That was an excellent fight with 2 big dogs. At first, because of the weight difference, Butcher Boy was up for the first 30 minutes, and then it started to heat up and Samson came up. The dogs had been scratching early in the fight because Butcher Boy had a fighting style that would spin around trying to get hold of him, and an ugly guy was called early in the fight. But his ugliness wasn't the kind that makes a dog cur, it was just his fighting style. In the final line, Samson was heavily eaten and had no energy left and crawled towards Butcher Boy but fell midway, proving to be dead game. Butcher Boy won that one in 125. The second fight was between myself, Don Mayfield, with Tombstone, and Bobby Hall with his dog Bullyson Jr. at 55 pounds. The dogs collided like tanks in the middle of the pit. They were big strong dogs and they fought very hard and fast. Bullyson Jr. was shown to have more of a mouth than Tombstone and was working Tombstone's legs and chest, doing a lot of damage to them. After an hour, Tombstone began to fall down because his legs couldn't hold him up anymore, but he was always in prey, and from below he worked Bullyson Jr.'s jaw while Bullyson Jr. worked Tombstone's legs and chest. The two dogs had eaten a lot and were badly damaged, but Tombstone was worse off than Bullyson Jr. at 1:20 p.m. Bullyson Jr. he released his hold on Tombstone and looked around standing on top of Tombstone, and also released his Tombstone hold, letting his head fall on the pit floor. I called a 2-minute out of holds count right away and told Tombstone to lie still. After 2 minutes, Bobby Hall lifted Bullyson Jr. upstairs and was carrying him to his corner when I told Tombstone to go after the dog, and when he got up I picked him up and carried him to our corner. In the corner, Tombstone was frantic to get back into the fight and was struggling and screaming to get free. It was very difficult to fluff him because he was a big dog and he fought very hard to get back. Being down, it was our turn to do the first line, and when I let go of Tombstone his front legs splayed out to the sides and he had no control over them and he looked like he was swimming in water. But his hindquarters were fine, and Tombstone pushed himself on his chest with all his strength, bouncing off the pit floor until he got to Bullyson Jr., and when he got there he pushed him into the corner of him and grabbed the hindquarters.